chairman of the West African Examinations Council, WAEC. He has in recent past served as technical advisor to the Reform Implementation Committee of the Federal Ministry of Education in Nigeria, following his earlier work between January and May 2011 as chairman of the Presidential Task Team on Education. Born some 79 plus 11 months and 11 months and a few weeks ago, PAI Obanya, if I may, was educated at the University of Ibadan, Nigeria, where he obtained the Bachelor of Education in French, in Education and French, with first-class honors. I just said he got a first-class honors, plus a distinction in practice teaching in June 1968. He followed up with a PhD in language education at University of Ibadan in June 1973. He also holds the Diplôme Supérieur d'Études Françaises of the University of Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, which he obtained in 1967. Appointed to the academic staff of his alma mater, University of Ibadan, in the Institute of Education as research fellow in August 1971, he rose rapidly through the ranks to the grade of full professor by October 1979. That was 40 years ago, but I was looking at it from a viewpoint of that was 8 years after he was a fellow. Yeah, he was director of the Institute of Education in the University of Ibadan from 1980 to 1983. And while on sabbatical leave from Ibadan in 1984, he served as Foundation Dean of Education in the Lagos State University, LASU. Between 1976 and 1986, 10 years, Professor Obanya produced 10 PhDs. That means an average of 1 a year. 7 of whom have become full professors of education in record time. At the international level, Professor Obanya was for a decade, 1976 to 1986, Secretary of the African Curriculum Organization, ACO, during which period he coordinated capacity building initiatives for national curriculum in 22 African countries. He was program coordinator for education for the World Federation of Organizations of the Teaching Profession, WCOTP, based in Mainz, Switzerland from 1986 to 1988. He joined the services of UNESCO in August 1988 and served as Deputy Director from 1988 to 1991 and later Director from 1991 to 1999 of the Regional Office for Education in Africa, UNESCO Breda, with headquarters in Dakar, Senegal. He retired from UNESCO in December 1999 with the grade of Assistant Director General, ADG, for services rendered to the organization. He is the designer of Nigeria's Universal Basic Education, UBE, and spent the period January 2000 to May 2001 setting up the structures for its effective takeoff. Professor Obanya has been spending his years of very active retirement. He says that you do not retire from education. He has been perfecting his skills of educationeering, which is a word that he coined. That is making education happen through mentoring young academics in addition to rendering advisory consultancy. research and training services to international development cooperation agencies, Pan-African institutions, national governments, non-governmental organizations, tertiary institutions, and the private sector. It is in this capacity that he has played the lead role in the development of education sector, strategic plans for 30 of the 36 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This lead role function has also been extended to the following projects. I'll just mention a few. The development of the NEPAD's education strategy document, groundwork for the Decade of Education in Africa 2006-2015 program of African Union, as well as developing the roadmap for 2016 to 2020 for Nigeria UBE. He also developed a strategy plan for the transformation of ABM University College in Botswana into a full-fledged university. There are several others. He's a die-hard academic known as the Grand Sage of Education in Africa. Professor PAI Obanya has authored some 286 publications on different aspects of education. He is a well-sought-after keynote speaker on education. His contributions to educational development have earned him a good number of honors, accolades, and awards. He's the most widely published author on education in Africa. He's a fellow of Curriculum Organization of Nigeria, fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Education, fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Management, outstanding mentor of African education researchers, and the Commander de l'Ordre National de Lion of the Republic of Senegal, etc. He is happily married and blessed with well-established children, up-and-coming grandchildren, and many more grandchildren to come. Please join me in welcoming this iconic doyen of education, a scholar sui generis, a globally decorated celebrity academic, and the grand wizard of education. You're welcome, sir.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself properly. I'm simply an 80-year-old beginning student of education. And if you look at the screen along with me, it says how we move from, say it aloud, everybody. Moving from, I didn't hear you. In a classroom, I would have said clap for yourselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to proceed as fast as I can. It's a discussion flow, the what, the why, the how, and I end with this. So, as we go on, the what, that's part one. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the sum total of the what is this. I'm dealing with two opposing approaches to teaching. The more prominent one, the one we see every day, is guiding. But the latter, that is, telling. The latter, which is guiding, we'll see in the next series of slides. One, in terms of materials for teaching, in telling, you use the textbook, you follow it from page 1 to page end. Whereas in this one, the one we're proposing, you have a wider variety of both test and non-test. Non-test. You have out-of-class activities to complement what you do in the lecture. Next, the teacher. The work of the teacher was what we call frontal teaching. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to discuss democracy. Democracy has been defined by Thompson and Jacobson as, and according to Thompson and Jacobson as, do you understand? If you don't understand, that's your problem. That is what you do in telling, or what I call lecturating. But if you teach, if you want to guide people to develop themselves, you read after me as I point. The teacher does what? Let's hear you loud. Let's repeat this. Yes. In the number one, you bend. And the man writes, you write. When he coughs, you write cough. When he sneezes, you write sneeze. But in this other one, you are engaged. You are part of the process. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue. Now, what does the learner do? The learner listens, takes teacher-dictated notes, talks only when so directed by the teacher. In this one, contributes. You see all this? You take your notes, but in an analytical manner. It is not when you sneeze, you write sneeze. But when you listen and discuss, you take down what you think you want to keep, you want to note for the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, and how does the teaching go on? How does the teaching go on? Let's read this column together. Frontal teaching. The teacher is always in the front, like, I don't know, like a dictator dictating to you. Memorization. What is democracy? Democracy is the rule of the people, of the people, of the people, of the people. Examination. What is democracy? Democracy is the rule of the people, of the people, of the people. So memorization, rote learning. So facts, figures, and so on. But here, it says a wider variety. You can say lecture room, flexible, analytical, and creative thinking promoted. I give you what I mean by creative thinking. 1955, yesterday you were there. A student says to the teacher, what's the meaning of collapse? He says to die. And I say, excuse me, sir, it's not to die. He said, big head, stand up. Close your eyes. Hands up. I'm talking, you are talking. In the end, he said, okay, what have you got to say? I said, Mr. Christian Menon, India's permanent representative to the UN, collapsed last week and did not die. The teacher didn't know whether Christian Menon was an animal or a human being or anything. He just said, where do you live? He said, Kotedo, this slum. Get out of my class. So that is what you do here. Do you understand? Yes, sir. If you don't understand, now you sabi. But here, even when you disagree with the teacher, you are encouraged. So, ladies and gentlemen, we continue. We are more interested in what you take away, the learning outcomes. Here, once teacher tells you, and you repeat what the teacher has said, they will clap for you. But here, because you've been engaged, see what happens to you. Let's read together. You want to go and learn more about it. This. Let's stop there. When in a chemistry lab they say titration can be seen as when you do this and blah, 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 and it isn't done to yellow, isn't it? Is it clear? You will not do any titration. But if you are made to follow the process without calling it even titration, something will happen to you afterwards. So if that happens to you, that hands-on, that when you are faced with novel experiences, you can apply. And creativity is always rewarded. In other words, we all be doing it the same way, and you come out with a novel way of doing it. Instead of saying shut up, we say clap for the girl. So ladies and gentlemen, now the emphasis I said is on learning outcomes. I don't know how clear this is, so I'll read it. While telling results in memorization and regurgitation, guiding is more likely to encourage lifelong and lifelong learning, as well as creative thinking. Telling who have worked in an era of highly competitive universities. When I was growing up, Ibadan was the only university, and it will admit only 100 from the whole federation. So the people already know book. Whether you teach them or not, they will know. So in that era, you could stand as a lecturer and pour Shakespeare was born in blah, 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 and then when you start, the student will say poor, and you continue. And you are considered brilliant because you could pour facts. But today, with jam bites and all that, you are becoming less selective. And so the people come with different levels of preparation. So this is the era of mass higher education. And the world is changing. And because the world is changing, we want to see what is changing in the world quickly in the next part. Part 2. Part 1 was, what is this telling? What will this guiding? Guiding is when the teacher does all the talking. You know, you used to call teacher master. In the boarding house, master is coming, and you start running around. In guiding, the teacher is no longer the master, he's a member of the learning team. So that is the word. But the why? Why must we shift to guiding? One, it is not a novel idea. People who went to what you call teacher training colleges, that was what they were taught. One thing they were taught is to memorize, I teach John Latin. Can you say that? I teach John Latin. Repeat. In order to teach John Latin, repeat. I must not only know Latin, I must also know John. You can deduce from that. You are teaching Afolabi. But to know the Kweshikwajo very well, because it's Kweshikwajo you are transforming through the teaching of chemistry. It could be teaching of anything. So it's not a novel idea. I'm not saying anything new. But let me go to, we are concerned with the demands and the dictates of changing times. And what are they? First of all, today's student profile. I will not read this. But in my time, you would have left secondary school, Cambridge. You would have spent 5 years preparing at home for A-level. Then you would have competed to enter the only university in the world. You would have been paying school fees for your siblings for the past 5 years. And when you come to Ibadan, we say, you know why you came to Ibadan. You do your work seriously. You were perhaps the only person to go to university in your village, and so on. And the world is looking forward for you to graduate and start earning and training everybody, and buy a car and become senior service. And your age was, if you were 21, they say you na small pikin. You'll be 26, 27, and so on, or more, even 47. Now, what is the situation? 15 plus, 16 plus. Mama is a principal, Papa is a politician. In those days, you didn't know what a typewriter was, but the 15-year-old has a system. And so on. In those days, the teacher was the only source. At best, the old textbook. Today, when they tell you my name, you Google it. Today, when I used to send invitation, now I send, you don't call it invitation in Nigerian English, now you say invite. You send invite by what's up and what is not up. And so on. What we're saying is that this person is living in a different world. And the way the girls are dressed here is the same way the girls in Austria and Mexico will dress. And the moment something Jackson, he releases a musical something in Mississippi, you're also dancing it in Lalukmo and Eldoret and so on. And you no longer have men in the schools, they are called guys. Am I right? Because they are called guys everywhere. You no longer have discussion, you have conversation. What I'm saying is, one, the world is changing. It's changing very fast, and it changes fast, everything moves. So you think history is moving. Two, you are more open to the wider world. So when you say WWW, what does it mean? It simply means a one world phenomenon. Wherever you are part of the world. And so there is nothing like this is Nigeria. There is what you call international best practices. You cannot say this is Nigeria. So when the girls when the girls wear, what do you call it, tops, you wear blouses. You know the difference? Blouse is when you cover all of this. Top is when it starts here and ends here. Huh? Or what do you call trousers? It is the one that starts here and goes down and exposes what it should not expose. Is it not true? Or the jean that is cut here and here and here. What I'm saying is that when something happens in the past, okay, when I did my own GCE 50 years ago or more, it was posted in Lagos. It took 7 days to get to Ibadan. Today, you do the jam in the morning, you get the result in your phone in the afternoon. So it's all part of, this idea of moving from mere telling to guiding is to prepare the young people to fit into this world that is rapidly changing. One thing about this world that is changing is this: there are no jobs, right or wrong, but there is work. Can you reconcile the two? There are no jobs, but there is work. And so we're not preparing people to a world of they will employ you in ministry of this. We're preparing you for a world as you go into the world and use your talents, whether you are employed or not. Because there's a lot of opportunities for those who use those talents, while there may be no job for those who refuse to think. So, what type of teaching? That is the guiding we're talking about. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is what has become known as the knowledge economy. I know you know about it. I will not go further. But I'll just underline or express what I've underlined. In those days, we said we in Western Nigeria were richer than the other two regions. Why? We had cocoa. Today they say the Niger Delta is richer because it has, what does it have now? Petroleum oil. Oh, I thought it was palm oil. Petroleum, okay. But strictly speaking, knowledge economy says commodity does not make you rich. You can have the commodity, and I will come with my knowledge to steal it from you, like you do with our own oil, steal it from Nigeria, refine it, come here and sell it back to Nigeria. So very soon, if we continue to teach as telling, we'll produce cassava here, somebody will take it abroad, transform it to gari, and come to sell to us. And we call it California gari, and we say it's better than Abeokuta gari. So, we say commodities no longer determine whether you are rich or not. But the way you deploy knowledge will determine. Two. You hear people in Nigeria say every day, these children are not doing well. They're all looking for white-collar jobs. Ladies and gentlemen, in the knowledge economy, quote me, there are no blue-collar jobs. Every job requires you're using your brain. If you doubt it, you are not being driven by a driver. Most of the time, you don't say that driver cannot hold the wheel. You can say he can't use his head. You have a cook, he makes a mistake. Oh, what's wrong with you? I've been telling you. You are saying he cannot use his brain. So every job today, we are all knowledge workers. And I'm not saying anything new. And third, when we used to have commodities, you say you cite your factory in Ijebu-Ode for timber, because there's mahogany there, and so Ijebu-Ode has comparative advantage. Now it is no longer comparative advantage, but competitive advantage. Comparative when the thing is in your backyard. Competitive when you use your brain, your talents, even when it is not in your backyard, to make use of it. Give you an example. MTN has 6 million people in South Africa, where it comes from. In Nigeria, it has 60 million. Have you ever seen the owner of MTN? Does he even know where Nigeria is located? But he's using knowledge to capture you. And if you're a true Nigerian, you won't be like me. I'm the only Nigerian with only one phone. Every one of you has 2, 3, 4, 5. And it is not a commodity that you manufacture. So the knowledge makes it possible. So let me go on. Now, I said earlier that there may be no jobs, but there may be no jobs, but there is work. Now, everybody is engaged in the future of work. In the future of work. What type of skills, what type of knowledge will you need for the future of work? You know, we used to say, study engineering so that you become an engineer. And study medicine so that you become a medical doctor. Ladies and gentlemen, what you become cannot be determined that way with certainty. But what you can do, or what you can acquire to do what you ought to do, you can determine, you can prepare for. And that is all you have here. But let me just, now, we no longer talk of the labor market. Labor market means somebody is waiting to hire you. And you know, those who hire you can fire you. We are moving to the world of work, meaning the world in which you engage in socioeconomically productive activities. Now, we used to say qualifications. What did you read? BSc, MSc, MBA, PPP, the one where you don't get, then dash them. But ladies and gentlemen, have you noticed in this country that when the banks advertise for their, aptitude testing, people with banking and finance degree will fail, and those with Arabic and Islamic studies will pass. If you have not noticed, I want you to notice. The person goes there bragging, I studied MSc Banking and Finance. The other one says, I have no hope, I didn't have a job, so let me apply. But when the test comes, what they are testing, the abilities they are testing for are not in the textbook. And it's only people who have gone through the process of guiding who get to pass those aptitude tests. So qualifications are no longer as important as personal qualities. Now, what you now need are skills. They are in 3 dimensions. I'll show you later. Then there's this ICT. ICT, what did I say there? It is not computer literacy. Computer literacy is where you have a computer and you cover it with a piece of cloth. You don't even know how to operate it. Computer literacy, send me an email. After 3 weeks, and you know that email, how does it even work? Versatility means you can identify where it will make things easier for you, and you can go ahead and do so without saying, these children, I beg, come and show me how to Google. So, ICT, we'll come to that. Now, today, what is this one? Graduate. It's a stark reality. But look at this one. It's compounded. Unemployability. Unemployment. The work is not there. Unemployable. When they put you there, you can't perform. Or you can't stay. So many things. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the future of work now, for you to fit into this future of work, where unemployability is even more serious than unemployment, where certificates don't certify anything, but personal qualities count. We're governed by ICT, versatility, and so on. The type of skills you need now from my work is not from a textbook, unless you are reading my own textbook. They are in 3 categories. The type of skill you have to acquire these days. The one we talk about are the hard skills. You know mathematics, you know geography, that is hard skills. You can write a reasoned essay, that is hard skill. Soft skill. Let me illustrate soft skill. My granddaughter comes, or my grandson comes with a young woman and says to grandma, meet my, what do you call them, fiancé. And the young woman puts her head in their pocket and says, hey, grandma. Then she sits down and strikes her cigarette, and grandma goes to the kitchen. When, after cooking, grandma serves, the woman eats and says, bye, grandma. What will be the reaction of grandma? If you bring that girl here again, I'll cut off your head. So, it's just to illustrate what you mean by soft skills and emotional intelligence. Meaning, let's say it in Nigerian English. You know book. That's hard book. You'll be a good person. Huh? You're a person likable, good character, all that. Those are soft skills. And importantly, what is this one? Go-getting skills. Let me tell you how I illustrate go-getting skills. We've been here since morning, and the photographers have been making money. I challenge you, go and hold this in Kenya, my friend from Kenya. Go and hold it in Ghana, my friends from Ghana. There'll be no photograph, unless the one you take yourself. But somebody out there has got to know something is happening here. He has found his way to this hall, and he has persuaded you to be photographed. When you come out, you see yourself looking more beautiful than you look, and you buy. That's an example of go-getting skills. You come to Nigeria, stay in your hotels, you want to recharge your phone, somebody in the reception will tell you how to do it. Go to another African country, they send you to a central place where you get your MTN. Because the typical Nigerian has got that go-getting skill, that is taking advantage of opportunities. So why does today's world need this? You have to be knowledgeable. There's no doubt about that. But you are dealing with human beings. You have to be a human being. And two, you have to remain competitive. So you have to keep thinking and be creative. And why are they called transversal skills? It's because whether you're studying geology, or geotechnology, or geography, or geophysiology, or geopsychology, we have to use the principle of guiding in teaching to get these skills through. So that you become you see, that's go-getting skills. That you become a successful medical practitioner after studying medicine. One, you know the medicine and you continue studying. Two, you are dealing with my people. You must know my people and how to deal with them. Three, you must see how the world is changing and learn quickly. That you learn sociology and you become a building construction. They say, but she did sociology. Yes, she's studying human beings, her hard skills. And at the same time, he can see where there are opportunities. He will engage the real engineers who are not thinking and do the thinking for them and get the contract through her contacts and supervise their building and becomes the richest person in one place. So they are called transverse skills, not because you have to revise your curriculum to say today we are going to teach hard skills. But in the process of guiding, bringing out the best in the learner, you are transmitting all this. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, there are some concepts we bandy around, but today their meanings are changing. One is this. What is this one again? We're in the midst of academic excellence. What about this one? And this one? Let's see how they've changed. Now, look at academic excellence. This is a stool. The stool has 3 legs. If you take away one leg and you sit on it, what will happen? You will fall. Which means you have to have the 3. So academic excellence today, let's read together. The excellent academic, go on. So we are laying emphasis on teaching because today's academic will no longer be say, he has published so many papers. He also has to be this one, and we shall come to that. And it has to be this. But all these 3 are related to the missions of a university. Now, the mistake that people make, when you say what are missions of a university, they say 1, 2, 3. It is no longer 1, 2, 3. It is inseparable trio. One feeds on the other. And if you take out one, you've broken the others. So, in today's, in universities that are making progress, the first thing they do is this. There's a mistake here. Knowledge generation, which you call research. So the academic is a consummate researcher. I don't know how to say it. When you say it's consummate, the thing has entered your blood. It's not because a conference is coming on geophysics. You hurriedly write a 10-page paper geophysical accumulation in Oyo, north of Western Nigeria. Then next, there's another conference on fisheries, geophysical fisheries in Shagamu area of Western Nigeria. And when there's no conference, no paper, and the papers don't build on each other, it is the thing becomes your blood, that whatever you are doing, you are in it. Then you have to be a creative teacher. But what you've learned from here, illuminates your teaching. But what is most important, you must share this knowledge with the world out there. If you are fisheries department and you are roasting fish, and you know all the chemicalology of roasting fish, and the Yamire in the marketplace roast fish without knowing the chemicalology, by working with her, you will learn from her and she will learn from you. And by the time they change the way, what they are doing for the better, you become a change agent. And you know when you change something, another problem arises and you continue. That's why you are committed. So there are 3 C's: consummate researcher, creative teacher, committed change agent, to be an academic, what it's called today. And these are related to what universities are set up for. Ladies and gentlemen, now, what we call knowledge has also changed. And I want you, everybody, to recite what I have here with me. Have we started? Knowledge is, repeat, and not just, but, wow, recitation. You've all passed. Clap for yourself. You know, in our Nigerian language, you know book. But you also know that when you interact with our people sometimes and you talk your book, they tell you, oh God, that is book. Now let's talk the real problem. The same thing is happening in today's world of work. You do know something, but what you know is a product of who you are. That is who you have become as a result of your education. And the employer, or you employ yourself, you are looking at what you can do with what you know in view of who you are. And it's not just my certificate, it's first class. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are all why we say we are justifying, what do you say, guiding. But you look at this now. We are talking about knowledge now. And it says 2 ways of looking at knowledge. Let's look at this together. Codified knowledge. Repeat with me. Codified knowledge. What is it? Our teacher said so. The textbook said so. The latest research from Cambridge said so. And who am I to argue? Now look at this. Regenerative knowledge. What does it say? But I want you to answer this question. Which of these 2 should a university teacher promote? Let's hear you. Regenerative knowledge. So, when we say moving from telling to guiding, when you tell, you end up here. When you go beyond telling, you get to this level. So that knowledge is used to for the continuous development of the individual. And so, another thing has been said about learning. Learning. Let's look at it together. The lowest level, adopting what I was told, what I have read, what I have Googled. This one, you have now thought about it, you have practiced, and you have modified it. And what about this? So, what level should university teachers go to? Because a noun is the name of any person, place, or thing. Adopting. Then you discover there is something called abstract noun, which is not the name of any person or anything. And then one day you decide to call it something else. So in the real world of today, you operate at this level. Those who employ you and when you employ yourself, you have to be creative to remain competitive. So ladies and gentlemen, Universities, that's another reason we have to emphasize guiding as approach to teaching. Universities are seeking for social relevance. I was a young man in 1948 when Ibadan University College started. My big brother, who is now 95, will read the papers and interpret to our parents here in Ibadan. And so they asked, what is this university college? You know his answer? It means that from today go, Nigerians will not go overseas to study again. That was how he interpreted the idea of a university. And when we were going to Eleyele to fetch firewood, the university campus of Eleyele, we saw these men in their ties. And they were speaking, it doesn't matter. As soon as we leave them, we also started saying it doesn't matter. We wanted to be like them. And when you were teaching in a primary school, there were girls also teaching. The day the young boy will come from UCI, meet Boyega Salami, UCI, the boy will start talking about Havana dance and Professor White and Professor Green. You look lost. Today, there is University of Kutu-Wenji, there is University of Botako, there is University of Bariam, there is University of Olokemeji. We don't even know how many universities there are today. And the world is asking, when you build university here, the people who lived in Dino, they moved, and that was the Abadina you call, Abba, where the Abba that belonged to Dino. We moved them, we bulldozed them out, and everybody will come to visit our zoo, to visit our biological garden. Say, one day my son will enter this place. Now they are asking more than that. They've seen those who've come and gone, no improvement. They are saying, what are you there for? And so every university is trying also to be socially relevant, to say, we belong to you, society. So you see, let's look at this. The world out there says that we do not, that is we university, we do not inculcate the skills that they need. And to understand these needs, we have to move closer to them. And we have to know what they are doing so that we produce people who will do something useful in society. And teaching as guiding is one of those things. So I come to the how. That is more important, and I'm going to be brief. The answer is simple. Everywhere you are, be a reflective teacher. A reflective teacher. It is no magic. Whatever we do. Let me give you an example. I don't know, sorry, those women who are married, you are busy, you're a professor, you come back at 10 p.m. tired, and then your father-in-law comes to the house at 11 p.m. Will he eat or not eat? If you no eat, you're there for trouble. Now, how does the eating come about? You think of what is possible, you think of what Baba likes, and you manufacture something, and you sit there while he's eating to say, is the salt, is this, and when he finishes, you even thank him for eating. And you ask him whether he wants more. Then he says you are a good wife. Because if he says you are bad, you are in trouble. But what I'm coming to is that in our daily life, we engage in reflective behavior. You tie a goat to a tree in your compound. The goat will sniff all the grass before, because by sniffing, he gets to know which one will not be all right. So to be a reflective teacher is nothing strange. It's just a repetition of what we do in our life. And let's see how it works. Now, how does it work? Look at this. What is this one? And it says, I teach John Latin. That pre-teaching exercise, I'll show later what it means. That is what you do before you ever get into the lecture room, into the laboratory, into whatever. And 2 is the cycle. Is the teaching. What does it say here? Remember, when it is no longer telling, it is student engagement. And what is this one? So you go from this to this to this, and you continue. So that is the reflective teaching cycle. And we do it in real life. But you know, there are people we call teach and go. Your lecture is 11 to 12. You come with your note and you start dictating. Usually it's 12, you walk out. See you next week. That is teach and go. But reflective teaching, you've done so much of the work at this level. And when you come in here, you are not sitting in one place because you are engaging students. And when you leave the place, you are not saying it's over. The work continues because you have to plow this back into the next one. So, ladies and gentlemen, so during the pre-teaching process, see what we do. If I touch one, you tell me. Yes, what is this? Yes. That thing you used to know that you taught in a class this morning, by this afternoon had changed. Whether it is a principle, a theory, a fact, a figure, so you verify whether you are still all right. Otherwise, one student is going to get up and say, but for what I can see from www.nigeria.com, Lagos is no longer the capital. And you said, Lagos was the capital an hour ago. And it happens in every subject. 2, what is this one? What to teach, we probably have a title. But this is more important. What is it? The fact that you teach does not mean that people have learned. And reflective teaching, using what we are saying, allows you to teach so that people can learn. Because until they have learned, you have not taught. Give you one small example from they have learned. Some of you were there, 15 January 1959. I remember you and you and you. Were you not there? Okay, if you were not there, 2 hands up. If you were. Okay, if you were there, 3 hands up. Okay, it was something to do with filtration, what do you call it? Purification of water. A place not far from Ibadan, now inside Ibadan. The color of water was the color of the cloth on your table. And each group of children had this bucket with that water in. And they were given a product called alum to throw in and to stand by and close their eyes and count 100. After 100, you opened your eyes. What did you see? The water has become like the water you know, and the sediments are down there. And each child said, oh, what Peda will call learning moments. That moment you say, aha, as we say in Pidgin, I know no saying so we be. That is the moment. And so, when we do teaching through guiding, taking the student through a process, they end up becoming different. It is that different that it makes in your life that is the real learning. And if you teach and go, water can be purified by boiling, by filtration, they will write down everything, but they will never purify water. And they will never recognize water that is impure. And they will never even transfer those skills to anybody else. And their life will not change. So making it learnable is when you know your students and and the conditions under which you are working. Now, what is this one? Teaching, learning, resources, mobilization. That is, you are not going to the classroom or lab simply with this computer or with your notebook. You are looking for whatever can help us. They may not be physical, they may be virtual, but you think of it. And last one. Yes, somebody decided this morning that you'll be sitting in this form. That is an example of learning atmosphere setting. The place is too hot. Do we keep the windows open? The chairs are not enough. Can we arrange how best to sit? The thing they call blackboard is no longer black. It is even white. what do we do about it? The children are coming from another lab to your lab. It takes time to walk across. What do we do? So it's a lot of work when you say pre-teaching. Now, coming to, we didn't know it will rain because we're not there. Now it started raining. You plan what to do. That is teaching atmosphere setting. So ladies and gentlemen, the second one is the actual work. The actual work, that is student engagement. And there I have 4 or 5 principles. Principle number 1 is this. What is this? Let's hear you. Don't let the rain disturb you. Let's hear your voice. Louder than the rain. Re-lecturizing the lecture. And what does it say in principle? The more you talk, the more they write down, but the less they learn because it has no influence on them. And when you look at this pyramid, I don't know if you can see it, but what it says is this. When you lecture, only 5% learning takes place. When in the midst of the lecture, you want them to read a few things, you increase to 10%. When you show audiovisual along with that, 20%. When you run around to demonstrate, it increases to 30%. When you add all this with discussion groups, you raise it to this. When you then give them activities to perform, you raise it to that. And when you say, now, sit around the table, let's discuss what you know, teach those who don't know about you, you get to that. So to re-lecturize the lecture means that we don't only stop here, we enrich the lecture with as much of all this as possible. That's principle number 1 in teaching as guiding. Number 2. Somebody calls these golden rules. And look at this. What does it say? I don't know, those of you, it's common with secondary school science. You have biology theory in a classroom. Then let's go to the laboratory to see how it works. By preaching synergy, you are not separating one from the other. The practice brings out the knowledge you want to transfer. And it's related to this. This one says, concept. What is it? The rain is disturbing you. Let's hear you. Why is it only the Kenyans are talking? Where are the Nigerians? Now, if you look around, people are wearing dresses of many colors. So before we call one of them white and the other one yellow, we let the learner see the difference, see what is different there, so it becomes internalized. Whenever he sees them, he will know the difference. Before we call one yellow and call one red or whatever. It applies to every discipline. Let's go again to democracy. Democracy is, you are putting the label first. But if people are in a situation of participatory decision-making, participatory everything, and you now say, you now bring out the idea that what is happening is what is called democracy. That idea, notion of democracy, becomes internalized. And it's happening in many of our practical disciplines. It's happening in the business world that you know what it means to have a market edge. You crammed it. But when you go into real world, you don't know what has happened. A lake is a piece of something surrounded by something. An island is a something surrounded by something. When the child is confronted with lake and whatever, he wouldn't know the difference because it has not been internalized. So when you say concept, if you put the concept before the label, you know the real thing before you give it a name. Because that name can change anyway. Now, rule number 3, experiential learning. Experiential learning. I give a good example that looks banal. You are teaching us advertising, and you come before us, according to Philipson and Jacobson, 2018, supported by Jacobson and Neckerton, 2019. Advertising is advertiser, blah, 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 and I quote, it is again, blah, blah, blah. But to enrich that, let's go to my women in the stores in the market. If I'm passing, everybody go, daddy, I better buy my own. That is advertising. You see a 60-year-old woman say, see me, it's advertising. You know she's no longer a CC, but you flatter her, or she will look at your place. Come, oh, my own is better than your own. And he dances, huh? It's all, it's advertising. So nobody says they are doing it rightly or wrongly. We're only saying it follows from knowing the concept before giving it a label. Now, in the class, in the lecture room, we do an introductory discussion. I did not say lecture. Then they go to the field, but in the field they are told what to look for. And when they are there, they are comparing notes. And when they come back, they reflect on what they saw. And when you've seen what they saw, you come together to discuss. I used to teach people how to teach French. And I'll take the same students to international school, UI. You know the facilities. From then to Aberdeen College. From them to Iroko Community Grammar School. And from then to Ajibode, there was even no road to Ajibode then. And then we had teaching French as a foreign language by Lado. We've memorized what Lado said. We've seen the French men teaching French in international school. We've seen the Yoruba woman teaching it in, what do you call it, Iroko Grammar School. And we come to this, okay, what do you think determines that these people teach the way they teach? Ladies and gentlemen, you will learn a lot from the children, under the students. And the way they go out to teach will be governed by this reflection, by this experience of the other world. So, what does this one say? Deployment of technology. I won't talk much on that. I'll just give 2 or 3 sentences. Let's look at this. What we are preaching is this. Look, can you read this from me? Mastery of not. I want to emphasize that. Mastery of technology. You know the potentials. You know the uses. You know when to use and how to use it to support your work. But it's not enslavement to technology. And I want you from today to start observing cases of enslavement to technology. As I'm sitting here, many people are photographing me and distraught. That is enslavement to technology. As we're in the church or mosque, hey, I'll call you back. I'll call you back. We're in the symposium, enslavement to technology. You're on the bed, your wife is sitting on the other side, you are sitting on this, the baby is crying. Each one has its system. Enslavement to technology. We are talking, we are discussing, then I ask you a question. You say, oh, what did you say? Because you've been enslavement to technology. That doesn't mean you can use it when you ought to use it. So when we say technology development in our teaching, technology support, it replaces you. 2, technology is that whatever the discipline, situation, you can use them. And whether you call it humanities, mathematics, but the major principle is using it in teaching to support what you are doing. What we've learned, go ahead. You want to learn, you want to make sure that others who don't know how to Google can learn from the others, go ahead. You want to get an example, which we do not have here, in pictorial form or audio form, ahead. But it does not mean that we let we become enslaved to technology. Just as this man doesn't want me to be enslaved to this. Okay, so that's all I'll say about that. But ladies and gentlemen, principle number 5, built-in assessment. You know the way we used to do. When you are a teach and go, you do what you like. Examination day, what do you do? Democracy is thriving in Africa, discuss, and you walk away. And everybody write any nonsense, you give 12 or 15. They've not learned anything. But what we call inbuilt assessment when we're teaching guiding, 1, is a two-way process. You are assessing you are assessing them. 2, it can be through systematic observation. As I look at you, I can tell when this young man gets impatient. I can tell when somebody feels like getting up. I can tell when people get boring. I can tell when a student is pulling another girl student's hair. All these are observations. And you know you can, whatever you observe, you use. By giving instructions, move your seat, sit in groups of 2, you're observing. Questions, that are common type. Group activities, formal testing. But what we do not do always is open discussion. Sit there, everybody, what do you think? Don't be afraid to talk. And then in summary anyway, what we are looking for is the what, the how far of what is happening in order to decide how next. And whatever we decide will help us to deal with the class again. If people are yawning, it's an observation, and we do something about it. If you talk and people cannot hear you, it's an observation. You don't say, shut up, why are you not listening? It's an observation. If the way people are seated, they cannot see what is happening, and you organize the seat, it's all built-in assessment. If you've been doing something and you say, you now summarize what we've been doing, it's an assessment. If you pass a paper around, write 2 sentences, it's an assessment. But the purpose of the assessment is not just they, it is also you. If they are not moving, it is not their fault all the time. It could also be you or the environment. Principle number next. Okay, this is part of number 5. I want us to read this. We used to teach for failure, particularly at a higher level. If you make a first class in my discipline, you must be a wizard. Or for you to score 70%, not in my subject. Huh? And then in my days in primary, secondary school, we had what we call the teacher's mark. You know, the maximum was 100. That was the teacher's mark. You must not score 100 over 100, however brilliant. If you get everything right, we deduct 2 and give you 98%. So it used to be because they are failing, it is because they don't know anything. It's because they are not serious. It's because children of nowadays, and you know as lecturers, as elderly people, we are fond of saying children of nowadays, in our time. And I would say in your time, I had no video to record you to see how you behaved. And your time was no longer their time. So, ladies and gentlemen, we no longer teach for failure. If everybody passes, as we say, the better. Because when students fail, it is the education system that is failing. And if this is failing, it is the whole society that is failing. So students never fail exams. The system fails them. You can quote me. A good discussion never comes to an end, so you can take me up on this later. So we no longer teach for failure, and that's why we try to do all this. Now, what do we do post-teaching? You remember I said a cyclic process. Pre-teaching, which is I teach John Latin. 2, teaching proper, which is student engagement, not lecturing to students. And 3, post-teaching. What can we learn so that my next teaching will be better? What do we do in post-teaching? What is this one? I don't want to hear you. I want to hear you well. It's because you don't believe in it that you don't say it loud. Say it again. That's not number one, oh. And number two, you know you do peer review in the things you publish, that your colleagues also look at you. Now, this one. Test performance, because as we say, we don't teach for failure. Wherever they are failing, we want to see what we can do about it so that we don't teach for failure. And this one is common in many places, questionnaires. But what are we doing this? It says always. Let's look at always again. Let's stop writing and look at always. Practice again. And lastly, so that is the purpose of that one. So ladies and gentlemen, the Vice Chancellor is looking at me. So I'm going to enabling conditions, which means I'm coming to the end. One, the universities need appropriate policy guidelines so that they don't just assess our publications. They also assess our capacities as creative teachers. If we want teaching to become creative, if we want to substitute, guiding for learning, for telling. So we have to show commitment to this academic excellence concept, meaning that we recognize and reward creative teaching for promoting you from one grade to another. Two. We do what PEDAL is doing, what the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning here is doing. Systematic pursuit, career long. I have my views on this too. One is they have to be career long. Not that because you've just started recruited into the university, you undergo the course and you stop. I'm saying even emeritus professors go through the course because life is changing. Two, don't exempt those who have studied education or those who are teaching education because they were trained to teach in secondary schools. Now they must also join us in learning to teach in higher education. Three, with psychosocial support. That is what we do not do enough, especially with increase in student numbers. Everybody, even the brightest, has psychosocial problems. The one who knows the subject better than you is a problem. Yes, the one who would not to sit in one place is a problem. The one you say group work and is not participating is a problem. The one who is the only girl in the midst of 10 aggressive boys is a problem. The boy who is the only shy boy in the midst of 5 forward-looking girls is a problem. The one whose English is not as good as this class is a problem. The one whose background in mathematics cannot cope with this is a problem. But what do? We put everybody together. If you fail, you fail. That's your problem. But if we're going to teach in a world where there will be no failure, we address all these psychosocial problems. And they are not the same thing as career counseling, which is study mathematics so that you become an engineer. It is helping you to understand yourself and to use yourself to solve your own problem. And we don't do it well enough. And finally, we cannot say ICT without ICT penetration. That is, ICT has to penetrate the way we work and the way we do things in the overall system. And we inculcate ICT mastery. So the conditions, if we have these conditions, what I've been preaching will probably be easier to enforce. And what have I been preaching? I say, you can say this with me. The next thing is breathe in, let me see how. Breathe in,
Oh, no.